Have there been any instances where vaccines have been helpful?
The question of the century, isn't it? Okay, now we have to back up a minute because I had that same question, and I had to go dig deep to all the questions you have in your head right now. I had them too at one point. So here I am, a medical doctor working in the field, believing in pretty much everything I was told, giving hundreds, if not thousands, of vaccines out to my patients, hepatitis B vaccines in particular, flu shots for sure. I was a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, and dialysis, etc. And initially, we all kind of have an aversion to needles. I think it's a natural human aversion. So when we're kids, no one's going, oh, I want to go get my vaccines. We're like, okay, fine, sore arm, you get over it. Most of us were lucky enough to get over it. So by the time the first instance of a problem occurred in front of my eyes, I was already a fully seasoned professor of medicine, working in a tertiary care medical center, okay? And so it's been a bit of a process because for me it was the influenza vaccines in 2008, 2009 that showed me without a doubt that vaccines can and do cause kidney failure and put people on dialysis, that does happen. It can cause hypertension. So we're not told to take a vaccine history in medical school. We're not told to even look there. It's not even part of, especially in adults. But when I did start looking there, I started to see more and more associations, let's just put it that way. And so first I had to go down the flu vaccine bunny trail. And every time I went down that flu vaccine bunny trail, guess what I was asked? What about polio?
Right.
So I thought, all right, even though this has absolutely zero to do with polio because I'm watching people crap out in front of me after influenza vaccines, let's see about polio. Because I knew very little about polio, just like most people walking around out there do, that, it was invented by this guy named Jonas Salk, and it saved humanity. We don't see these little crippled kids anymore. We don't have iron lungs anymore. Yay. Well, I would have to say that the polio bunny trail was the darkest one of all. And so after polio then became smallpox. And I thought, we still have people walking the earth that have experienced the polio years. So I kind of like to stick to polio because most of the smallpox, people that would have been familiar with it are off the planet. But there's still some doctors around that'll talk about smallpox. Like a guy named Thomas Mack, who's probably close to 90, who was kind of ground zero in the 1940s and knows a lot about it and still says we shouldn't be vaccinating for smallpox today. So then there was that, and then everyone and their dog was talking about autism, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with autism because I was an adult doctor.
I think we should break down step by step, what about polio?
Yeah.
Because you said polio, once we've breached that, because that's the big one.
Yeah.
Right, this is the one that everybody points to. We don't have crippled kids.
Yeah.
When you look at the historical timeline of polio, what do you think caused it to go to essentially not be a problem anymore?
Okay.
You don't think vaccinations had anything to do with that?
Well, it's not what I think, because that's the thing. Like, look, when I got into this, I didn't say, I want to argue that vaccines are great. I said, look, I don't care. I didn't have skin in the game. I didn't have vaccine-injured kids. I couldn't have cared less about it, essentially, except that it was something in front of me and it didn't make sense. So I thought, wherever the truth falls, that's what I'm going to talk about. So what I say is that what the facts line up to show you is that polio is still here. Polio is still alive and well. Polio is called different things today, whereas back in the 1940s, 1950s, the criteria for diagnosing polio were completely different to the year that the vaccine was introduced. The playing field, the goalposts, everything was changed so that despite the fact that there was more paralytic polio in the years after that vaccine was introduced, they were able to show a complete cascading drop of paralytic polio simply because of the way they changed the definitions of what polio is and what could cause it. And they started testing for the virus, where before they would never test for the virus. And when they started testing for the virus later, what they would find that people had Guillain-Barré syndrome, they didn't have virus, or they had Coxsackie virus or echovirus, or they were lead poisoned or mercury poisoned, which was the mercury and lead were the leading treatments of the day, including bloodletting. They were telling people to take your cigarette and put a little bit of arsenic in there. It's good for your lungs. Yeah. They were literally blowing smoke up people's butts. Like that's where the term comes from, because if you want to Google that now, you'll see that there's an instrument that does it.
Yeah.
So, the polio story, where to even begin? And so There's about 70 pages. And so that became my obsession. So when people said, what about polio? And I started digging this up, I went deep into it.
Did you dive into pesticides?
Yes, you have to dive into pesticides. Because the tonnage of production of DDT absolutely mirrored the diagnosis for polio in the days. And the countries that still make DDT today is where we're still seeing this paralytic polio situation happen.
And also, weren't the first cases, did they break out in a rural community?
The first cases of polio, yes.
In the United States,
good.
paralytic polio.
Yes, it was out in the countryside. Well, and that was probably more because of the sheep and cow dipping. So arsenic, you'd have to look at arsenic, you have to look at the mercurials, you have to look at the calcium arsenate, lead arsenate sprays that were put on trees. But what you're talking about in particular, they would call the cow disease. They would go out in the family, when you would go to the house, they'd say, all the kids have the cow disease, what the cows had before. Well, what were they doing? They would have these trenches. You talk to farmers, even today. Oh, yeah, we had trenches. We would just walk them straight through, and I'd be soaked with the stuff by the end of the day.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So they're basically soaking and bathing in arsenic, which is great for killing fleas and ticks. But it's not really great for keeping your nervous system happy, because the fact of the matter is, and this again, I've got medical references, everything. I can't get away with making stuff up, okay? I have to put a reference for everything. But arsenic causes the exact same spinal pathology that and fevers and everything. It literally mimics what they were calling polio and a polio virus back in the day.
I read this crazy statistic, and I still can't believe it's real, that 95 to 99% of all polio is asymptomatic.
That's exactly right. So polio virus is what we call a commensal, just like you have staph on your skin and strep on your skin, and it actually serves a purpose. It keeps other microbes in check as long as you don't get a cut and have not a good immune system to deal from the inside out. So polio, the reason I can say that polio is a commensal is because, again, there are medical studies that showed that people who dared to get on the edge of some of these wild native tribes down in South America or elsewhere, but in particular I'm talking about a South American tribe called the Javante Indians. So the Indian Health Service got to the edge of it and bargained that they would get some stool and some blood from the tribes so that they could test it for polio. And what they found was 98 to 99% of every person they tested, and it was hundreds of people, had evidence of immunity to all three strains of polio. And they said to them, well, where are all your crippled children? Where's your short legs? Where are the people that died of respiratory failure? And they were like, we don't have any of that problem.
Want to trade like the pros without being one? With PU Prime, you can. Whether you're into Forex, stocks, crypto, or commodities, PU Prime gives you access to 200-plus trading instruments, ultra-low spreads, and lightning-fast execution, all on an award-winning platform. Now with copy trading. No time to track the markets? With PU Prime's copy trading, you can automatically mirror the trades of top-performing experts, giving you the chance to profit like a pro, even if you're just starting out. Why choose PU Prime? Fast execution and ultra-low spreads. Stay ahead of the game. Leverage up to 1-500. Maximize your potential. Copy trading. Let the experts trade for you. 24/7 support. Help when you need it. Trusted by 1 million plus traders worldwide. Ready to trade smarter? Click the link in the description and start with PU Prime today, where every trade counts.